Unblocking traffic circulation in the city of Yaoundé and its peripheries are now those tasks for housing and council officials in the face of indifference to the urbanization master plan of the town. Government Bilingual High School Bepanda Douala emerges best government institution in the baccalaureate examinations with 79.84%, a success credited on hard work and discipline. Riches and the misery that follows when hers disagree, the disparate distribution of the abundant resources that once brought joy divides and sometimes lead to bloodshed. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 news.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Welcome back. We begin our half-hour newscast with the urbanization and development schemes to render Cameroon's cities radiant, structured and accessible. Despite the 2004 law governing town planning in Cameroon and the Master Urban Plan of Yaoundé, there is a proliferation of haphazard constructions which hamper the fluidity of movements, especially in peripheries. Constantine Bomb details what obtains in some neighborhoods like Nkwabang and Oja.
This is the usual 7 a.m. traffic at the Nkwabang roundabout, the entry point from the East region to Yaoundé. We observe a lot of frequent stops and disorder, an unbearable situation that becomes more complex with many minibuses making trips to or from the city. Motorcycles, of which the number is rapidly and steadily emerging, do contribute to the problem.
We have students going to the school, workers heading to their job places. This helps to create traffic congestion. The situation is worst in the evening, when everyone is rushing back home. We are used to the situation.
14 minutes after 9 a.m., we drove around the Oja neighborhood, passing through the Tropicana roundabout, Biteng and Como. Movement is still characterized by frequent stops and disorder.
It is a very complicated problem. The road is very narrow and the road leads to Central Africa, Grand North and Chad. We also have many vehicles in Yaoundé. The road has to be enlarged. And we can spend about 2 hours in traffic.
Daily mobility in most peripheries of Yaoundé remains by taxis of small capacity and motorcycles. A key solution is for the authorities not to neglect urban growth and management, which is a potential means to solve mobility problems in Yaoundé and its peripheries.
Housing officials and council authorities have been undertaking a number of projects to unblock jams in most entry points to Yaoundé. These include the construction of secondary roads to ease circulation during rush hour, the opening of bypasses, as well as the relocation of some travel agencies. Clarice Ari Takang highlights some of the actions taken in this report.
To decongest the various entrances into Yaoundé, a number of options have been proposed.
Almost 30 kilometers of third road have been under construction. Coming from the north of the city, you are not more obliged to go through the central interest road. The flyover at the Olympic Stadium also meets the Soa road by passing through the stadium and Carrefour San. As from Bonnefontaine, Olembe, you are now able to reach, let's say, Mokolo or Biemasi.
Town planners and urban designers are pushing for solutions which take into consideration demographic transformations and sustainability.
An urban train is a solution. 2 trains can go from Obala to Mvolier without any problem. With about 40 wagons going around the town, the congestion problem will be solved by about 70%. The price will equally be affordable and there will be no problem. With different stops at train stations, passengers will only get on and off, board taxis, and that is it.
creating new paths to ease movement or walking around existing ones is not without roadblocks.
We are decongesting Carrefour Ahala by taking commercial motorbikes away from there. At the north, all the travel agencies which are operating there have been relocated to a new site at Olembe, a multimodal platform. We also have to clean up Mesasi and take roadside markets to other areas.
Rural exodus, uncivil behavior of inhabitants and disregard for construction norms are amongst the factors held responsible for congested entrances and exits. The way out is a pressing need.
And traffic congestion from the Simalen International Airport to the capital city Yaoundé has been nipped in the bud by government through the construction of a motorway. Launched in 2013, the project is partitioned into two sections, one open to the countryside and the other for urban planning. Joyce Kimbi-Fuwaju reports on the giant plan to ease mobility in Yaoundé.
From the roundabout of the airport platform, the countryside of the Yaoundé-Simalen motorway runs towards the capital on a linear stretch of just over 11 kilometers, with a 2x3 lane, comfortable surface that may subject drivers to the temptation of cruising at top speed, to the admiration of the users of the current highway, now accustomed with frequent traffic jams. Unfortunately, this pleasure is short-lived. The admired section stops at Ahala district, the starting point for the construction of the urban section of the project. 11 kilometers long, with an average pedestrian walkway of 30 meters, carrying 4 lanes, dotted with 11 underpasses and 10 pedestrian bridges. These structures will be located in certain neighborhoods and points in the capital city, such as Ahala, Nsam, Dakar, Olezwa, the Central Post Office, the Hilton Hotel, and the Wada Crossroads. At the end of the works, the infrastructure will boost urban mobility in the capital city Yaoundé and significantly reduce the time spent in traveling the trajectory from Simalen to Yaoundé. That is 15 minutes as to 45 minutes or 1 hour being spent now on the road.
We now take a reading of this decree to appoint the board chairperson of the National Printing Press. The President of the Republic hereby decrees as follows. Mrs. Ngomo Angeline Florence is, with effect from the date of signature of this decree, appointed chairperson of the Board of Directors of the National Printing Press for a 3-year term of office, renewable once. The appointee shall be entitled to the various benefits provided for by the laws in force. This decree shall be registered, published according to the procedure of urgency, and inserted in the official gazette in English and in French. It is signed by the President of the Republic, Paul Biya. It is thus a new era at the National Printing Press. Following appointments at the top of the institution, Professor Florence Angeline Ngomo is now board chair of the National Printing Press. The former Secretary General of the Ministry of Tourism and Leisure replaces Moise Ngai Amubeke, who died in October 2019. Shortly after the reading of the presidential decree appointing her, our reporters were at her residence to pick up her first reactions. Take a listen.
I thank God, the Almighty, from whom every grace comes. And I would like, secondly, to express my different gratitude to the head of state, His Excellency Mr. Paul Biya, who once more gives me his high trust. And I seize the opportunity to pay him a different tribute for the promotion of gender. And I would like to say that I address this new challenge with a lot of humility for the repositionment of the national printing in the heart of an area where the competition, as you know, is very hard.
Congratulations to a woman there. Tonight, we explore the intrinsic value of riches and the chaos that could result in the hunt for inheritance. Material wealth is steadily becoming a source of conflict in families, tearing apart siblings and sometimes leading to bloodshed. How can riches, a source of joy, be managed to avoid misery? Kilian Dandifon tells us more in our talk of the day.
The remedy of succession conflict in the family that has taken root begins with change of mentality.
Prepare the future of your family without you.
Most Cameroonians are afraid to ride wheels before they die. Because if you die without a wheel, you leave your estate to be managed by the administrator general, who shall appoint an administrator from the family to man. They can appoint somebody you do not want.
Although the will is still subject to dispute, it is the better devil.
It is possible that a will is challenged. But if you are left a will, appoint your executors and so on, when you die, there will be no problem because the court will only implement what you left behind.
Beyond legal safeguards, moral educational values must play their role.
It's not just a problem of moral education. An education based on the subjectivity. You are not dependent to how your parent produce. There is a kind of distance you take with the inheritance of the parents.
Like the Chinese say, teach your children how to fish rather than give them fish.
When you socialize your children and give them all of the tools to take care of their daily living conditions, you are sure that it is very difficult that after you, there is a struggle within a family.
The increasing inheritance conflict is a result of the misunderstanding of modern values.
And now on to one of our top stories. The government bilingual high school Bepanda Douala is the highest ranking government institution by the Office du Baccalaureate. It scored a 79.84% pass in the examination, which the school authorities attribute to hard work, discipline and cleanliness. Dixon Ashu reports on the exploit, which is not the first for the school.
Though situated in a neighborhood notorious for high crime wave and delinquents, Government Bilingual High School Bepanda has and is still proving that success is possible in spite of a difficult environment. The top-ranking national standing record of academic excellence has become habitual for the institution.
Sometimes we were second in the region, first in the region, first in the Republic. But what we may return or what we may keep is that GBHS Bepanda is trying to stay in the same position.
Emerging overall best in the latest ranking of the National Office du Baccalaureate exams for public schools comes to add to the already outstanding 10 years record. The school management insists they function according to the same rules and regulations governing the sector in the country. Only that they are rigorous in their application.
The secret of GBHS Bepanda is discipline, is hard work, is cleanliness. That is the motto of our school, and that is what we are trying to respect.
Success was guaranteed despite the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic last year. The school management is saying they are still poised for the same result this upcoming session, in spite of the resurgence of the pandemic.
Still in education, representatives of institutions of higher learning, including the Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie, are currently being trained on assessing acquired experience gained in Cameroon. During the start of a 3-day session, the Secretary General at the Ministry of Higher Education, Professor Wilfred Ngapsa, outlined that the Council will examine the files of candidates and the possibility of acceding academic titles. He now expounds on the coaching process. Take a listen.
To be given an academic entitlement, their professional competencies be recognized and given a reasonable place in society. We are very grateful to the Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie, whose director is here with Central Africa and the Great Lakes. You know already there is a program of activity that was established, and that is being followed. 40 councillors are today going to be trained to carry that file and start making it accessible to everyone that embraces the education system. If Roger Miller became a professor of sports tomorrow, is there anyone who contests his competence, his skills and knowledge in the domain of football? No.
In other news, Cameroon joins the world today to celebrate the International Day of Intellectual Property to raise awareness of how patents, trademarks and designs impact daily life. Creators and innovators in Cameroon have been challenged by the Secretary of State at the Ministry of Mines, Industries and Technological Developments, Dr. Fu Calistus Gentry, to register their business names. Joyce Tata reports.
Encouraging SMEs on the importance of registering and protecting its trademark is the sole focus of this encounter to commemorate Intellectual Property Day. Understanding what a trademark is may ease comprehension.
The trade name is the name that they are used for the commercialization, just like, I can just say like Ora. Yeah, that is the name that they have protected, and they have been given a certificate by WAPE.
Of over 14,000 entities. Only less than 200 have registered. So we think that it's high time those small and medium scale companies with names register them to benefit from the several advantages.
And so, in order to avoid unfair competition and confusion on the part of consumers, experts say it is important each enterprise is labeled.
If anybody copies your name, you have the right to take that person to the court. The importance is that when you register a trade name, you have the sole right.
Government plans on extending such seminars to the cities of Bafoussam and Douala in order to register better results.
Workers in Cameroon will commemorate the 135th International Labour Day without the usual march past, according to the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Gregoire Owona. Stakeholders will nonetheless reflect on the theme, the world of work and COVID-19 pandemic, securing workers' health, a great challenge in the preservation of achievements within companies. Prince Will Mukwele Aduma has the details.
Less than a week to commemoration, nothing in Yaoundé to show for the 135th edition of the International Labour Day. But again, the theme, the world of work and COVID-19 pandemic, gives the clue.
Given the fact that the place of work serves as breeding ground for the spread of the virus, the theme retained fits in context.
Furthered as securing workers' health, a great challenge in the preservation of achievements within companies, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security finds in it an emphasis on healthcare rights at workplace.
The preservation of human capital in any establishment is an important factor. It begins with the health of the worker.
Shutting the door against the disease does not in any way mean shutting up workers on their day, as activities in prelude include roundtable conferences.
It is important to carry on with reflections. Stakeholders in the labor sector know their role in providing solutions to these challenges.
March past or not for 2 years running, workers in the country will learn to stay above the pandemic this year.
In diplomacy, Cameroon and the United Kingdom have exchanged note verbal for the formal establishment of an economic partnership agreement in the post-Brexit era. The Minister of External Relations, Mbela Mbela, and the British High Commissioner to Cameroon, Dr. Christian Denis Maclou, performed these duties for their respective governments. Charles Ebune reports.
Just weeks ago, the Cameroonian Parliament passed a bill on the new economic partnership agreement between Cameroon and the United Kingdom in the post-Brexit area. And just days ago, the President of the Republic promulgated the bill into law. And today, here at the Ministry of External Relations, the Minister of External Relations and the British High Commissioner Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to Cameroon exchanged the documents to make it formal.
It's an important stage to complete the process for the economic partnership agreement. And we're looking forward, as the Minister has said, to beginning a new era where we can engage bilaterally around our commercial and trade relationship.
The note verbal exchange for the economic partnership agreement between Cameroon and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland takes place in the ceremonial hall of the Ministry of External Relations. Brief, short and simple, attended just by few officials of the ministry. Cameroon, just like many other countries around the world, have begun signing a bilateral economic partnership agreement with the United Kingdom ever since the country left the European Union this year.
In COVID-19 news, a good number of Cameroonians are now conscious of the need to get vaccinated against the coronavirus to uplift their immune system. With facts on the efficacy rate of the Sinopharm and AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines, they believe immunization is the only way to stall the spread of the virus. Rahanatu Salih spoke to some of them who have booked to get their shots in the coming days.
Taking steps towards the right direction, Joseph Bengboom is booked for COVID vaccination this week. He will rather get the vaccine first and not the virus.
You never know who has COVID, so if I have the opportunity to prevent myself from getting infected, why won't I do it? The vaccine is the only way out now, and I'm going to take it. I don't want to die of COVID.
He is playing safe at the time the virus is ravaging lives, with over 65,000 confirmed cases and close to 1,000 deaths in Cameroon.
We have over 12 million Africans who have been vaccinated, and they are okay. That alone is reason for me to get immunized.
Despite the conspiracy theories surrounding the efficacy of the vaccine, some Cameroonians like Bodo Vidal and Melen Yudong think the vaccine is the only way out.
I decided to get the vaccine because I think that it is important. I was sick of corona disease.
COVID-19 has changed lives since its outbreak. Schools temporarily closed, some companies bankrupt, and a series of layoffs. But the vaccine has offered a glimmer of hope for millions of people.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
There is a handful of Cameroonians who are still skeptical about taking the COVID-19 shots. They question the adverse effects of the vaccines and demand more information on their status before being vaccinated. Is the level of antibodies an issue to be considered before inoculation? Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Andreas Njo, provide answers from the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima. Indeed, it is a major worry for most Cameroonians, given that there were some persons who, after being vaccinated, they have some adverse effects. As far as the vaccines are concerned, let us find out from our guest tonight, Dr. Andreas Njo. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
There are persons who, after being vaccinated, they have noticed some more adverse effects. What is being taken into consideration for some of these persons who notice some of these adverse effects before being vaccinated?
Okay, thank you so much. Before vaccination, the first thing is that a screening is done. And during this assessment, it is determined if an individual has an allergy to that vaccine or to any of the components of the vaccine. Now, talking about allergic reaction, we'll look at it in terms of severe or moderate. For those who have presented with a severe allergy to that vaccine or to any of its components, it is generally not advisable to administer that same vaccine or that particular vaccine to this individual. But now, to those who have presented with moderate, to some extent it might be judged and they could still be given the vaccine. Now, talking about the choice of who is going to be vaccinated or not, it will be considered firstly, if during screening, if somebody has been infected with COVID or has an active COVID infection, if you present with signs and symptoms, a test will be done. And if that is confirmed, you are expected to wait for at least 6 months before receiving your vaccine. Now, for those who initially received a vaccine dose against COVID, it will be verified depending on the vaccine that was given. If it is, for instance, Sinopharm, you wait for at least 21 days before giving the second dose. If it is AstraZeneca, you wait for at least 4 weeks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andreas Njo, for all those explanations. You must consult public health experts to fulfill those conditions before you get yourself vaccinated. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Baldwin Sama. In case of any adverse effects noticed after a shot, get consulted. Now on to this advertorial. Officials of Source du Pays, producers of Supermont mineral water, say there is no fake Supermont water in our local markets. They have assured consumers that the quality of the product is indisputable and safe for consumption, and insist that the public should shun all contrary reports. Scholar Maloke reports.
For some time now, Supermont consumers have been confronted with two packaging of the mineral water, one with a cork that has the logo and the other with just a stamp of the expiring date. Recently, information on social media alleged that one is fake and the other authentic, an issue which has been debunked by officials of Sources du Pays in Douala. Richard Drucker is the Legal and Administrative Affairs Director.
Relative to information concerning our product, Supermont, we of Sources du Pays want to assure our consumers that our products in the market are authentic products, so everyone should feel free to consume them.
Mr. Richard Drucker explains the differences on the corks.
Le premier aspect, il est relatif en début d'année à la pandémie COVID-19.
The first aspect has to do with the impact of the COVID-19 on the global economy. The confinement in Europe affected the import and export of raw materials, which enabled us to produce the corks with the real Supermont logo. We were obliged to import other corks. That's the main reason why there is a difference in the corks. But what is important is the fact that all the bottles have dates engraved on them and also carry our logo.
C'est pour ça que vous allez constater que nous avons ces deux différents fonds.
Supermont, which comes from the best water source in the country, has some particularities.
La particularité de cette eau, la beauté de cette eau.
Talking of the peculiarity of this water, its beauty, fineness and lightness comes simply because it is naturally filtered on the foot of Mount Cameroon and has all the characteristics of mineral water as seen on the ticket without additives, but just natural.
Simplement une beauté et un mystère de la nature.
Sources du Pays has promised its clients the best services ever. It is no doubt that Supermont is the best mineral water in Cameroon.
Now to sports. The UFC heavyweight world champion Cameroonian-born Francis Ngannou is home with the title belt. He was given a hectic welcome today in Douala by Governor Samuel Dieudonné Ivaha Dibor and a crowd of fans as he toured the city in a caravan. Rene Kache reports.
Francis Ngannou basking in the glory of his heavyweight championship triumph. 1 month after making history as the first African-born to win an MMA heavyweight championship belt, the son of a soil is back home to celebrate with his compatriots. His arrival at the Douala International Airport is greeted with ecstasy as the heavyweight champion of the world brandishes his belt to an excited Cameroonian public. His next stop is the Littoral Governor's office and his host, Governor Samuel Dieudonné Ivaha Dibor. After expressing gratitude to Cameroonians for their moral support, Mr. Ngannou said he couldn't find anywhere better to celebrate his victory than the land of his ancestors, Cameroon. As a sign of appreciation and profound love for country, Francis Ngannou braves the scorching Douala sun in a guided tour to present his heavyweight championship belt to his compatriots. Thousands cannot afford to stay back home but brave the streets of Douala to show love to one of theirs who has raised the country's flag high on the summit of war sports. From Bonanjo to Aqua, passing through the busy streets of Rond-Point Deido, Feu Rouge Bessenget to Ecole Publique Deido and Dokoti to Saint-Michel. The excitement is total as Mr. Ngannou waves his belt in smiles, accompanied by his mother. The heavyweight champion will carry out a similar exercise in the days ahead in his native Batie, in the west region of the country.
And we say welcome home to our champions. Still in sports, members of the mascot and anthem juries of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations have been urged to be firm in their choice. They were joined by the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcis Molekombi, while commissioning them into office today. Baldwin Sama has the details.
They received their working documents as presidents of the mascot and anthem juries respectively. Professor Jean Tabi Manga, former rector of the University of Yaoundé II, as head of the mascot jury, and Professor Charles Binam Bikoy, a university lecturer, as head of the anthem jury. They would work alongside seasoned professionals with each a rich experience in arts and music to select 3 outstanding mascots out of the 25 proposals already submitted and 5 anthems out of the 100 already submitted and proposed to the public, out of which the best will be retained.
I think that we have done a choice who meets the passion and the emotion of the entire nation.
We all will want to get the best that will sell our country. We want to be able to get something that
people will listen and know what Cameroon is all about. And since Cameroon is Africa in miniature, it's my wish that we'll be able to get something that will not only portray Cameroon, but will portray also the African continent.
Impartiality, transparency, and professionalism should be their watchwords, according to Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcisse Mwele Kombi. As members of the mascot jury have 5 days to consult, while those of the anthem jury have 10 days, after which the finest products will be unveiled.
And that will be all for this edition of the 7:30 News, in which we probed into the issue of unblocking traffic circulation in the city of Yaoundé and its peripheries, which is an arduous task for housing and council officials who are faced by indifference to the urbanization master plan of the town. More news comes up at 8:30 p.m. with Adan Mbala. Our programs continue on CRTV and on CRTV News. Stay blessed and thanks for watching. Good night.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.